can be set back on the right path towards a job in the future.
We are still waiting for the recommendations, Mr Speaker, but I will feed in my honourable friend's suggestion because I think it's a good one.
Francis.
Speaker, one legacy of the previous government was it was easier to keep disabled young people on an EHCP until they're 25 because there isn't adequate support to get them into work, but equally for other young disabled people to make them meet because there isn't adequate support to get them into work. So will my honourable friend agree with me that any reforms need a cross-departmental approach to support disabled young people into work and ensure there's lifelong work opportunities for them?
I do agree with my honourable friend, Mr Speaker. Sometimes this can feel like a vicious circle for young people with disabilities, and we need to make sure that we get this right.
Speaker, my generation and the generation after me have been systematically failed. The scale of the needs crisis is not because of young people, but as the Minister says, a widespread problem across education, health and indeed the welfare system. So can I take this opportunity to welcome the report, praise the work of the excellent Job Centre staff in Castlemilk and my own constituency, and invite the Minister to come to a jobs fair for young people that we're hosting later this year.
Can I join in his praise for his local Job Centre staff? He knows that I would never refuse him, and I look forward to that visit.
Scott Arthur.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I do refer members to my register of interest. I was really disappointed earlier to hear anxiety as a condition being downplayed because it can be absolutely debilitating and we do have to accept that. To solve the problems presented in the Milburn report, we'll have to break down the silos within government and work with a devolved government. So I'd be grateful if the Minister can outline his approach to doing that. And also there's a tendency...
As I said in response to an earlier question about conversations with the Welsh Government, I am due to meet my Scottish counterpart next week. These conversations take place regularly, routinely, and we will ensure that we have a joined-up approach so that everybody across these aisles is able to benefit from these changes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I recently visited the Jobs Centre in Bournemouth Town with the Employment Minister, and we saw the great work they were doing to build skills and confidence of young people through work experience with organisations like National Trust. Now, I'm delighted we're also getting a youth hub. Can the Minister please tell us how young people in my constituency will benefit from that?
Mr Speaker, youth hubs are an incredible way for specialists to reach out and work with young people across a range of different interventions. It is a single space from which we can really drill down and target the needs of individual young people in individual communities such as hers. And if I may add, I know my right honourable friend very much enjoyed her visit because she told me so.
Jim Dixon.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. In my constituency of Dartford, major government-funded infrastructure projects are providing strong opportunities for young people, including skills training, permanent jobs and careers. Does the Minister agree with me that as we renew our homes, our bridges, our crossings, our rail, our infrastructure, we've got to maximise the opportunities for young people?
I absolutely agree. That is significant government investment and it presents a significant opportunity to do just as he says.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This report identifies the vital importance of the home learning environment, which is a dry term, recognising that children don't grow up in isolation. They're in rich relationships, and parental skills, parental relationships, secure attachment all really matter. As Chair of the APPG, I'm really pleased the Minister's mentioned family hubs and the government's investment in them. With the new guidance, they're set to be really rich networks, partnerships that support families. Does he agree there should be cause for us to double down on our plan to roll them out quickly and successfully?
I absolutely agree, but he'll appreciate that that is DFE lead.
McAllister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The majority of young people not in employment, education or training in West and Bartonshire want a job or training but are not getting the support they need. Does the Minister agree that one way to tackle the challenge of youth employment is through our youth hubs, such as in West and Bartonshire, opening this month, 1 of 10 across Scotland, and will he come and visit it in West and Bartonshire?
It sounds like I'm having a day out in Scotland, Mr Speaker, because yes, I will take that in at the same time.
Right, let the front bench change over. Home Secretary.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. With your permission, I will make a statement about the murder of Henry Nowak. Last December, Henry, aged just 18, was a first-year university student with his life ahead of him. He was kind, hard-working, loved by his family and friends. His murder at the hands of Vikram Digwa was a horrifying act. Digwa murdered Henry and then lied about him as he lay dying, falsely accusing him of racism. It was an evil act. I know the thoughts of the whole House will now be with Henry's family and his friends, just as mine are. What they have been through is heartbreaking, for most of us, unimaginable. I know nothing can take their pain and loss away. But yesterday, we saw some measure of justice. Digwa was sentenced to life imprisonment. He will serve a minimum term of 21 years. His mother, Kiran Kaur, has been convicted of assisting an offender. She is due to be sentenced on 17th of July. And today, the Crown Prosecution Service has authorised further charges against other members of the attacker's family. With further sentencing and possible charges pending, we must be cautious still in what we say about this case, so that we do not place any proceedings at risk. However, I can and must pay tribute today to the dignified and powerful words of the Novak family in the statement they gave after yesterday's sentencing. They deserve answers. They deserve answers in particular about what happened on that awful night and the actions of the police officers who arrived on the scene. I expect many in this House and many more across this country have now seen the police officers' body cam footage released last night. It is, without question, a disturbing and tragic thing to see. People are rightly asking questions about how the situation was handled, and they are shocked and disquieted to hear Henry's words, "I can't breathe." I know that it is difficult to wait any longer for answers, but there is a proper process to assess whether there have been incidents of police misconduct, led by the Independent Office for Police Conduct, the IOPC. They will determine what could and should have been done differently. They will determine what action may need to be taken against individual officers. The family yesterday called on me, and I quote, to ensure the IOPC has the resources, authority and independence it needs to conduct a full, fearless and transparent investigation. Mr. Speaker, I can confirm to you today that I will do so. The IOPC will be equipped and encouraged to act to find the truth and to ensure, if necessary, that there are consequences. There have been accusations, I know, of two-tier policing, that one community has been prioritised over another. It will be for the IOPC to determine the facts with regard to this specific case, and I cannot and will not comment on them. But let me say this on the question of preferential treatment more widely. The police in this country have a sacred duty to police without fear or favour. Everyone in this country is equal before the law. It is the promise upon which our whole justice system rests, and the equality of every citizen is the foundation on which the openness, tolerance and generosity of this country rests. Let me also be clear about one other thing, a dangerous undercurrent that I have seen in the reaction to this awful crime. Threats against police officers are utterly unacceptable. There can be no justification for intimidation, abuse, or attempts to take the law into one's own hands. A police officer unrelated to this case has been misidentified online and subjected to death threats. He has been forced to relocate to protect himself and his family. Misinformation and inflammatory commentary is making a dreadful situation even worse. We must all, together, condemn it. And we must also allow the facts to be established through the appropriate investigations and the courts, and we must do so calmly and responsibly. The Novak family and Henry's memory deserve answers. They have also called on us all to take action. Action to address the daily tragedy of knife crime in this country. This government is committed to halving knife crime in this decade. And since the start of this Parliament, we have made progress. Knife crime has fallen by 10%, and knife homicides are down 27% at their lowest level in a decade. But clearly, we must do more, whilst there are still tragedies like this one. And for that reason, we have recently published our Halving Knife Crime Plan. It sets out how we will go further to drive sustained reductions in violence. It brings together action across government and across society to stop people from turning to knife crime and to ensure that perpetrators are caught and brought to justice. Amongst a range of measures, this will see schools and families supported to address the root causes of knife crime through the establishment of 50 Young Futures hubs. Police using new crime mapping tools to target enforcement more precisely and making better use of stop and search. And cruel and exploitative drug gangs stopped from criminally exploiting children, preventing the knife violence that is driven by the county lines trade. In relation to knife controls, there have been calls to limit the right of Sikhs to carry their ceremonial knife, the kirpan, one of the 5 holy items in their faith. The Offensive Weapons Act of 2019, passed under the previous government, clarified and strengthened existing legal protections in relation to long kirpans. This included extending defences so that kirpans can be lawfully possessed for religious reasons and used in religious and ceremonial contexts. But let me be clear, carrying a knife for the purpose of religious observance is one thing. Using it, as so tragically occurred in this case, is quite another. It is a vile act, a crime of the utmost severity, and it will be met with the severest punishment. Yesterday, the Novak family ended their statement with a powerful call to us all. I quote, "We do not want his death to be used to create further division, hatred, or tension." They quoted the words of the prosecuting lawyer, and I quote again, Mr. Speaker, "This is not a case about Sikhism. This is not a case about racism. This is a case about murder." I echo those words. We cannot allow this murder to turn communities against one another. We must condemn those who seek personal political profit from tragedy. Instead, we must show who we really are in this country. This was a murder, a vile and violent crime. The punishment must be reserved for those who are responsible for the act. We do not believe in collective punishment in this country. Instead, we stand together against an act of pure evil. We condemn those who committed this heinous crime, not all those who share their faith or their ethnicity. Yesterday, a sentence was handed down in court. I know it will never be enough. The loss felt by Henry Nowak's family and friends will last forever. A wonderful young man will never enjoy the promise of the life that stretched out before him. The evil acts of his murderer and accomplice will never be undone. But we can choose to use this moment to pursue positive change. We are still limited in what we can say. There is a sentence to be handed down and further charges may follow, and there is an IOPC investigation ongoing. But I call on everyone here to be responsible in this moment to allow justice to run its full course. But while we must be limited in what we can say, we must not be limited in how we act. I will end with the words of the Novak family once more. Last night, they wrote that no other family should experience the heartbreak and horror of losing a child to knife crime. Let that be the challenge to us all, across this House, across government and across society. It is the very least we can do to honour the memory of Henry Nowak. Mr. Speaker, I commend this statement to the House.
Chris Wilkes, Shadow Home Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Home Secretary and thank you, Mr. Speaker, for ensuring the government came to the House today. The murder of Henry Nowak is devastating for his family. He was an innocent young man on the way home when he was brutally killed. Henry's family have suffered an unimaginable loss, and I know the thoughts of the whole House will be with them all. The evil murderer, Vikram Digwa, lied from start to finish, including a false allegation of racism. But on arriving at the scene, the police appeared more concerned with the accusation of racism and even the possibility that Digwa himself was injured than they were in helping Henry. Henry told the police he could not breathe 9 times. He told them he had been stabbed 4 times. The response from the officer, we've all heard, was to say, "I don't think you have, mate." Henry was handcuffed and dragged across the ground as he lay dying. Can you imagine what he must have felt as he cried out for help and was ignored, as the officers who should have worked to save him instead handcuffed him and inquired after the welfare of his killer, standing just inches away. Henry's dad, Mark, said this: Henry did not die with dignity. He did not die with the care he deserved. He lost consciousness before anyone believed him. So we need the IOPC to urgently and transparently report into how it was the police attending were more concerned with the accusation of racism than they were in helping a dying man. Mr. Speaker, we cannot tolerate a situation where false allegations of racism by criminals are believed. We cannot allow the colour of someone's skin to be a consideration in how the police or other public services treat people. And yet this has happened. Just recently, we learnt that Valdo Calicone, who murdered 3 people in Nottingham, was not sectioned by mental health professionals because they thought there was, and I quote, an over-representation of young black males in mental health detention. The consequent failure to section Valdo Calicone, in part because he was black, led directly to the murder of 3 innocent people. The head teacher of Axel Radicubana was accused of racist stereotyping when she described Radicubana as a threat to safety and the risk assessment was watered down. Radicubana, of course, went on to stab and murder 3 young girls at a Southport dance class. But, Mr. Speaker, this has not happened by accident. It is enshrined in the police's own policy documents. The police anti-racism commitment, published in March 2025 by the NPCC and the College of Policing, urges police forces to reverse engineer the same arrest rates between ethnic groups, even though the offending rates are different, by treating different ethnic groups differently. Let that sink in for a moment. An official police document actually says people should be treated differently based on the colour of their skin. I've said before at this dispatch box at least twice that document should be withdrawn. The dangerous ideology of so-called anti-racism, allowing people to be treated differently based on race, must end. Extreme activists have hijacked the policy-making process, and this is where it has led. It has no place in policing, it has no place anywhere. So does the Home Secretary agree that the so-called police anti-racism commitment must urgently be withdrawn? It is morally wrong and it is dangerous as well. Police forces must focus on catching criminals and keeping the public safe. They must simply treat everyone exactly the same. I want to finish with Mark Novak's words yesterday, Henry's father. He said this: Henry was 18. He was kind, ambitious, loved, and full of promise. He had his whole life ahead of him. But that future was stolen from him, and no verdict and no sentence will ever give it back. Mr. Speaker, it is true that nothing can bring Henry back. But let us make sure that no one ever again experiences what Henry did in his last tragic moments.
Home Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me thank the Shadow Home Secretary for his remarks and for the tone in which he's reflected on this horrific murder and the words of the family, which obviously he knows I share as well. Let me just say his initial point, I would normally let it slide, Mr. Speaker, but I think there's far too much misinformation floating around social media for me to just leave this one unchallenged. On the government coming to the House, he will know that the proceedings and sentencing concluded at 4 o'clock yesterday. We said we would come immediately thereafter to the House, and we have presented ourselves here today. We have responded in an appropriate way with all of the facts at our disposal and all of the judges' remarks at our disposal for our review before coming to this House. And I think it's important that we respond in these moments in a measured way, and that is what we, the government, have sought to do. He referred to evidence in relation to the Valdo Calicane inquiry. He will know that the inquiry into the Nottingham attacks is well underway, and I don't think it would be appropriate for me from this dispatch box to preempt any findings that the inquiry might make. But of course, all of the actions and assumptions made by professionals of different public services, including the police and the health service, are subject to scrutiny within that inquiry. I'm sure those are matters that we will return to as that inquiry reports. He did refer to the findings of phase 1 of the Southport inquiry in relation to those horrific murders and the findings in relation to how the public service systems in that case in relation to Axel Rudab-Cabana centred the danger he might have posed to himself given his mental health diagnosis and did not take into account the danger he posed potentially to others. There have been recommendations, he will know, that have been made for change in this area, which the government will respond to fully in due course. But let me be very clear with him and all members in this House, in all such matters, in terms of how we engage with our public services and how they assist risk, the only important factor is the risk an individual poses, not their race, not their religion, or indeed anything else. And we will not tolerate a situation where other irrelevant factors are taken into account. I repeat again, all are equal before the law, and every public service needs to bear that in mind. He referred to the police anti-racism commitment. He will obviously remember, I'm sure, that the race action plan for the police began life under the previous Conservative government. In fact, I'm old enough to remember when Theresa May called out disproportionate use of stop and search for black communities in particular. He will know that the way that policing works in this country is by consent. It is important that the police retain the confidence of all of the communities that they police, and that there has, I think he would acknowledge, being a history and a context here relating to racism and the police. Whatever changes are made, it is important that nobody overcorrects or course corrects such that all of us as citizens are no longer equal before the law. And this government will always ensure that in fulfilling their sacred duties to keep our communities safe, that the police always act without fear and favour and always ensure that every citizen is treated equally. But I'm sure he wouldn't want to do down or ignore historic and legitimate concerns that there have been from some communities about institutional racism as well as differential treatment. I condemn all types of differential and every type of differential treatment. I do not stand for it. My own track record as a government minister shows I will always act when there is evidence of differential treatment, and it is absolutely vital that that message is heard loud and clear across the whole of our country.
Baron Paffy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I thank the Secretary of State for her statement. Henry was a popular and much-loved student at the University of Southampton, and his murder has horrified our city. I know both my honourable friend, the member for Southampton Test, and I want to commend everyone at the university for their response and support for the university community following this tragedy. Mr. Speaker, like many, I've watched the body cam footage, and it is both heartbreaking and infuriating. It makes it plain for all to see how Henry posed no threat that would warrant being handcuffed, and yet was treated as a criminal based on the lies of his murderer. Now, no one in their right mind thinks that one Sikh or one or two police officers represents all Sikhs or the entire police force. As Henry's father has said, this is about murder, about our response to it, and about our prevention of it. So I have two questions for my right honourable friend. We have a knife problem in this country. That's why we've taken early steps to ban zombie knives and to crack down on knife sellers, but it is obvious that is not enough and we have to go further. So will the Secretary of State commit to clarifying a set of tough and consistent knife laws and the resources to enforce them so that we can actually move on? And secondly, I echo the words of Henry's dad, as she did, and ask the Secretary of State to guarantee that the IOPC will have the resources, the authority and the independence it needs to conduct a full, fearless and transparent investigation. Will she guarantee that? Because the catastrophic errors that were made when police officers got to Henry must never happen again.
Well, let me thank my honourable friend for his contribution and for his questions. Let me give him that guarantee the IOPC will and do have the resources that they need in order to conduct their investigation, and I know that they will do so, with the full independence that is afforded to them in our system. I understand that they intend to report finally within the next 3 months, and I do believe that a meeting is now taking place with the family. Some contact had been made before, but they were waiting for the end of the criminal trial. So, of course, they will do their job. They are getting on with doing their job, and I expect them to report as quickly as possible, but I can give him the guarantee that he seeks. He is right about us having a knife crime problem in this country. That is why the government has a landmark commitment to halving knife crime over a decade. It's why we've launched the Knife Crime Action Plan, and let me reassure him it does have the resources it needs in order to fulfil its historic mission.
Max Wilkinson, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a heartbreaking case of a young man who should be alive today with a happy life ahead of him because of the